My name is Tom Hatton, CEO of Mountainside Fitness, and you're listening to the Dynamic Fitness Podcast with Eric and Chris Martinez.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode on the Dynamic Lifestyle Podcast. We have the one and only Tom Hatton with us. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, guys. How you doing?
We're doing well. I am floored by this facility, Tom.
Well,
honestly,
you.
So it's a pleasure being in your headquarters here, Mountain Fitness, right?
Mountainside Fitness.
Mountainside
here.
Fitness.
Our headquarters here is Scottsdale, Old Town Scottsdale, Arizona. Yes.
Yeah, and I was saying earlier when we got dropped off, I saw the escalator going up there, and I was just like, "Holy! Like, where am I going?"
I saw the pictures too, the different locations. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a neat dynamic of all the years, and when they open and stuff.
Really cool.
Absolutely, yeah. This place is beautiful. So well done.
Thank you
on everything you've done, and we're going to talk a lot about that, like how you've gotten to this point. So I'm excited about this.
Great.
All right, and also too, GSDCon is right around the corner, so you'll be speaking Friday.
Yes.
So what are you most excited about the conference?
Well, I like the energy there.
Yeah.
You know, I think everybody's coming there ready to go and ready to learn, and there's so many good dynamic speakers. So be a part of that. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I think that the most,
Yeah, and that's where we met last year.
Yes.
At that conference, and we really enjoyed your talk, just like your entire story, just how you were just very transparent and just real about everything. So that's where we got to get Tom on the podcast.
Well, I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
let's go back to that, because the thing that stands out the most is, 17 locations, over 90,000 members. And what really stuck out to me, because this is what really resonates with Eric and I, is the customer experience. I think it goes a long way, and I think it's overlooked a lot, by gym owners or even like a personal trainer. So you really focused on the customer experience, the hand towels, knowing people's names, being the most friendliest gym, doing the pizza and the beer, stuff like that, right? So just walk us through that, just like how that has built you up until this point, and why that should always still be at the forefront for any gym owner or personal trainer.
Well, I think when we first started, I was looking for a differentiator. I think that, I've always felt like anybody can buy a dumbbell and an incline bench, and even a treadmill. So anybody can do that, and that makes us all about the same. But it's how you deliver it is where the difference is separated. So for us, it was how do we create a culture, not only for our employees, that kind of came secondary, but really for the members. And back when I started, it was so long ago, fitness wasn't what it is like today. That was a sense of community. It was Facebook before Facebook. Mm-hmm. So that's when we talk about the stories where I would do membership appreciation days. Back in the old days, that's what we were trying to do. So I brought in pizza, and then I would bring in a keg of beer, and it would just be like, everybody just chill out today. We're just going to just take this day off. And it really started this kind of wave for us, and a culture of, a community. And I'm just a member of a gym. I'm a member of Mountainside Fitness, and this is the way it feels, and they care about whether I'm coming in or not, or they care about my kids, those kind of things. And it just kind of started at that point and kept moving forward.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and right now, is that still kind of like at the forefront of Mountainside Fitness? Is just the customer experience like that?
Yeah, I think we've really tried to grow it. We've tried to look at all aspects of our business in fitness and say, okay, is it just customer experience? Is it product? Is it value? Is it a combination of all that? And that's what we keep trying to do, is enhance all of it. Sometimes when you grow, you lose that customer interaction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in front talking to the members all the time, so I have to rely on all the employees and the team members to be able to do that. To create that culture and keep it going has its own hurdles, but also getting bigger, you have more people that can spread the word. Mm-hmm. So that's good. Creating the value in the box and who we are and putting that all together is kind of where we land today. It's kind of always an evolution, always a moving target of just keeping that alive and who we are, and then making sure it translates to the employees so they can keep delivering the same.
Right.
Absolutely. And where did that aha moment come, just when you wanted to get into the business of owning a gym, a physical location? Where did that come from?
It came from a crazy dream I had one night, probably when I was a house painter when I was in college. I was just exhausted, and I woke up the next day and I had this really clear, weird dream that, it was like, I'm going to own a gym. And I had never even thought about it. I played baseball in college, and I liked fitness, but it wasn't like fitness is today. Mm-hmm. I was just more of an athlete, and I thought, this could be kind of fun. And the idea of owning my own business really appeared to me. And because I liked fitness, I thought, okay. And it didn't seem like there was a big barrier to entry because of the competition and all that stuff. So it all just kind of formulated into one point that I kind of latched onto as a kid, and just said, okay, I'm going to go for this, and that was it. I kind of just followed what that dream was like in my head, and that's what I opened up my first club to look like and feel like.
Yeah. And what was like the biggest like obstacle to overcome, throughout that journey of just building these gyms?
Well, it's so funny. There's always different obstacles over a career. You guys, I'm sure, are learning that. We were just
Yeah.
talking about
Oh,
this
yeah.
on air. I think then, first of all, it was money. I had $2,000. I was 22 at the time, so I didn't have really any experience of owning a business, and certainly, as I said, I didn't have the money. So overcoming just having enough money to buy equipment, to then convince a landlord that I could own a business that he would spend money on to renovate to look like a health club, to then actually have enough money in the bank to operate the business. It was all so foreign, and then the understanding all the things about running the business. So all those things were such giant hurdles in the beginning. But I would say money was the biggest one. Is
Okay.
how to formulate enough to open and then survive.
Right.
Right. Yeah, and if you can kind of go back to, all this experience you've had, all the ups and downs, and after 17 locations, 90,000 members, there's a lot of aspiring fitness, people in our audience on this podcast and personal trainers, and I'm sure it's crossed your mind to open a gym. What would you really recommend, a couple of steps, like just absolutely permanent steps to really go that route and have success with it?
Well, I think it translates not only from fitness to any business, but I think you really have to be passionate about whatever it is that you're doing. Because you're going to need to call on that passion when times get difficult.
Right.
You're just going to have to be able to pull it in. And I think that's important. Love what you're going to do, and that'll get you going. And then from there, understand what you're doing. Whatever you can learn, do it. And really break down all the different aspects of business. Because it's just not just fitness. You might really know personal training, but do you understand how to run a personal training studio? Do you understand how to hire employees? Do you understand how to create a culture? Do you understand how to market, raise money? All those kind of things that go along with, I just know how to be a personal trainer. So I think being passionate about it, understanding it, being able to ask questions and absorb it, and then not being afraid to fail once you go.
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
that.
And I love how you say develop a culture. That's something that Chris and I advocate to our students all the time, is just understanding what your big why is, your vision, and most importantly, develop that culture and community, right? That's what people are going to gravitate towards, the why behind what you're doing.
Yeah.
So is that how you pretty much stood out, like with all the competition, like Gold's Gyms, Equinoxes, LA Fitnesses? I mean, you've opened up 17 studios. So
Yeah, I think over the years, I think the culture was always in the forefront of how we operated, so that people would understand when they saw a Mountainside Fitness, sign go up, they already knew in their mind what was going to be there, and that takes a lot of time and energy. And here's a word: consistency.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. With some of the competitors that you just mentioned, they have different objectives to that, and I'm not sure where culture fits in that for us. And because we were so small and organic in our growth, it became huge because I can control it.
Yeah.
We can do that, and I can't control who walks in, but I certainly can control how we greet you.
Yeah.
When you come in there. I think that's real important, and stay with us as who we are. I look at businesses that we see out there that have nothing to do with fitness, but everything to do with culture, that are in a very competitive area. Southwest Airlines is one.
Right.
You just know when you're on a Southwest plane, just because of the way people treat you. They're just funny. It's just a different environment. Chick-fil-A, one of my favorites. Like, they're the top, they're Mount Rushmore. Just the way their culture is, for what their environment is, it's amazing. And if they can do it, if those two types of business can do it, we certainly can do it.
Yeah,
Love it.
Yeah, and it's funny. We were just actually taking a lift over here, and the Lyft driver, we're telling him about our podcast, and we're telling him we're interviewing you, and he said, I'll ask him this question. He said, what's the key for retention? So you have 17 locations, right? So what is the key to retain your employees, these personal trainers, to really be on this mission of 17 locations? Because I feel these days retention is very hard, because there's a lot of opportunities these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurism's really big. So yeah.
Gosh. It's so funny because in the industry, as you all know, there's really three segments. There's just the general team member who works the front desk, who sells memberships and works in the child care. And then it jumps over to the group fitness, where they come in and out, maybe 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, 3 days a week. Yeah, and then you get into personal training, which is somewhere in between, where they might be there 4 hours a day, but not every day, depends on their client load. And so there's really three different types of mentalities that you're trying to make fit into one culture and all make them feel the same.
Right.
That's taken a lot of work over all the years, and just making sure everybody's integrated, especially the ones who aren't there all the time. How do I make the fitness instructor who's there once a week feel as important as the person that I
Right.
see every day?
Right.
that takes a lot of work and, kind of game planning and making sure that they're all made to feel, valuable no matter what amount of time they're there.
Yeah. Do you feel like social media has like impacted like any of that, just with like personal trainers, just training people face to face, just their attention span, anything like that?
It's funny. My son said that we were talking about him the other day, and he was saying he thought social media is one of the big instigators for how fitness has grown, because so many people can see different people like yourselves on YouTube doing exercises, and it gets people enthusiastic about becoming more fit or understanding it on their own terms before they walk into a health club. I think it's really aided it into doing that. So you see people just, it just all translates back and forth, and helped the sustainability of personal training inside the clubs. It really has.
Yeah. Amazing. And then do you feel too, I know we talked a little bit before about like just the online component of things, like how Chris and I are helping gym owners, personal trainers, try to segue online. Do you feel like the, studios should have some sort of online component?
It depends on the studio, but I think the ability to access this is really huge.
Yeah.
It allows, if I would have had that opportunity 28 years ago, it would have been such a resource for me that, you guys are being able to give out to new studio owners today. I think it's great. And if they have the ability to be able to share that, if it makes sense for them, I think that's even better. But certainly back to the original question, social media and social marketing is just everything to this industry. Probably one of the most industries that's impacted by the
Right.
Yeah, because it's like the name of the game is eyeballs. Like, how do you get eyeballs on what you're doing, your location, how you're treating people? So it's like, man, it's just fascinating how things have just changed.
It really
It's crazy. I mean, I could just imagine when you first started, you're just probably like, holy shit, like what's going on here?
Oh my God! I mean, if you want to go into that world, it's just like Thomas Edison invented the phone. It just we didn't have computers. There was no internet. I mean, there was ATM machines hadn't come out yet. Much less a fax machine. We was a Polaroid picture and a laminate.
So what were some of like the go-to marketing tactics you guys did?
Oh my! First was door to door.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I would leave flyers on doors, and then you really it'd be rocks in bags thrown on the, because you could get more done thrown on with a flyer and a rock in the bag. And it was that, and then it was in the local magazine or local newspapers, credit card size ad. Those were big deals and stuff like that. Paying companies to then deliver flyers for you, hoping they just didn't run out and dump them in a trash can down there. That was really the guerrilla ground level organic marketing that isn't out there today, and expensive. It was really expensive.
Yeah,
it's not the same today.
Yeah, probably just a bunch of cold calling too, right?
It was funny. I think we were lucky. We were in the center, and we've always been that kind of in that mentality where there was a lot of drive-by traffic. So there was always that I'm gonna look in and see and walk in.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The older days, this is before you guys were even thought of. They did cold. They would open up the white pages in the in the phone book and start dialing up.
Yeah, that's funny.
Terrible.
It's kind of
So how have you in Mountainside Fitness kept up on the trends? Because there's been a lot of trends, right? Like I've noticed with just kind of like Barry's Boot Camp, F45, Soul Cycle, whatever, Orange Theory, all those different things just popping up, little trends where people are just like, I want to try this, all this hearsay. How have you guys kind of kept up on that and kind of like kept your poise and not sat there and kind of like, got frantic and had to pivot or anything like that?
Yeah, I think we've always taken a really interesting approach. I think it's been one of our biggest successes. Is we've said we're not afraid to look at everything, and we're not afraid to say no. So what happens in between those two statements? And I remember Cycle was way before it was coming out, and nobody knew if it had any kind of staying power. And looking at it, and then once we got in, we were in, and then we had to figure out how to really program it. Cycle really took two different paths. They went in the health clubs first, and then what did it do? It went into studios and became really dynamic in a different mode. So we had to learn that, and then the same thing happened with yoga, and then recently in just the type of CrossFit core type of mentality and open space programming, and making sure that does it fit inside what we're trying to offer in our boxes, and then can we deliver it at a high level and create a value proposition that makes somebody wants to join even more rather than just a studio, or if our competitors are trying to do it, are we doing it better?
Yeah.
And it just takes patience and understanding. We don't hit on all of them, but I think most of the time, by the time we're ready to pull the trigger, we pull the trigger hard.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Let's talk about your book, Dream On. So,
All right.
yeah, I'm just fascinated too because Chris and I wrote a book. I mean, we told you earlier, Chris talks about his eyebrows, and
I sure do.
Great eyebrows, man.
Thanks.
Seriously.
Thank you. Just kidding. No. But yeah, what inspired you to write that book? What motivated you? And then who's the book for?
The book's for really, the book is really for charity. I'm really close to two charities. One started here, and then now it's a national charity, Make-A-Wish. And actually Make-A-Wish started here in Arizona, and then Muscular Dystrophy Association. So all the proceeds from the book, all of it goes to those two charities, which is not necessarily why I wrote the book. It's just the result of when the book came out and what I wanted to do with any of the proceeds. But the book, it really started from a really low point in my personal life that I sat there and went, nobody would realize what was, like I couldn't tell this story out loud and anybody would believe me. And it was therapeutic. I just kind of started writing about what was happening at that moment. My career had been about 20 years at the time, maybe a little bit longer. And it was just kind of this crazy flashback moment that helped me kind of process what was happening right then, and then go all the way back to the beginning, something like when you see in a movie where you're just kind of going back, going, how did I get here? And then you start to relive all the great things and some of the lower things and all the things in between that landed right then. So I started writing that in really late 2012.
Okay.
And mid 2012, and then it really took about almost 5 years to finish.
Yeah.
For a lot of different reasons, things weren't done. I didn't feel like the ending had been written, so to speak, or the happy ending, and just the emotional energy it took to every time I would go into it, and kind of deal with. I had a ghostwriter that would help me and stuff.
Nice.
And it was a long process for sure, a learning process.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And then were you satisfied though once you saw it and you read through it?
Yeah, it was interesting because it was all out there. I remember when it was finally published, and all the books started to come in. And I remember looking at it and I thought, now what? Like I did it, like it's done.
Yeah,
now what do I want to do
exactly.
with this? And really, I just didn't know. And because it was really, as you guys read, it's pretty out there. I've really been transparent. I got to a point in my career where it's like, well, it doesn't really matter anymore. I feel pretty comfortable with where I'm at in my life. And maybe somebody would find this interesting and, what have you, and it has. So from there, it's just kind of turned into its own kind of world. And it's been kind of fun, as you guys know, with your own.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then, do you mind sharing that low point in your life with us?
Yeah, it really started. The actual business had been doing pretty good. And, we had survived a really low point in the market we were talking about before we went on air. The crash here in Arizona in 2009. But it was really bad. At that time, I was opening 6 clubs. 3 of them were in Colorado, 3 of them were here in Arizona. I had real estate that was probably tied to, I think it was just under $100 million in personal guarantees. All the real estate values had crashed. I was staring at multiple bankruptcies, Chapter 11s, to stop the onslaught of everything that was happening, from the foreclosures and everything that you read about on literally steroids that was happening. I was kind of caught in the middle of it. And it was insanely stressful, and nothing that I was ever mentally prepared for. I just wanted to own a gym.
Yeah.
Right? And then it turned into this whole real estate, and then a pretty big enterprise with the members and employees. And I was really lucky because the membership was really doing well, but all this real estate craziness was kind of back here behind the scenes. That was really difficult. And in the midst of that, my closest friend, and he was my development partner, we sat in an office literally like next door to where we're sitting right now. I was the godfather to his son. I coached his kid, and all. We were very close. He had a brain tumor that they found in 2008, and they removed it. He almost died. It started to come back in 2012, and it just changed him. He just really was a different individual, and was going through a lot of hard times, going through a divorce. He was going through his own personal financial issues. I think all this was coming down at one point. So I started writing because I was actually in jail for a DUI that I had gotten 6 months before. And just on one of those moments is everything, just a bad decision. I was out trying to just, with friends, and got in the car, and I think they caught me at a 1.1.
Yeah, just when it rains, it pours.
Yeah, when it rains, it pours, and it was really kind of one of those things. It was just so low and such dumb and the whole thing. So I had to turn myself in. I was sitting in a cell, going, the whole world out there doesn't know what's going on. They don't know what I'm dealing with, my financial, the real estate stuff. They certainly don't know what's going on with my best best friend and everything else. And I'm sitting here in an 8x12 cell at 7:30 in the morning, and starting to write on a little napkin with a pencil that they let me have. And I think there was 3 guys in there with me, and about 5 p.m. there was 23 guys in that cell. And I had to spend the next 3 days going in and out. They let me go home each morning, whatever. And it was such this crazy low point, but it even got crazier where the week before, Jim had decided to mail the key to his house to myself and our assistant, and to where we went there on the Monday morning and found that he had killed his whole family and killed himself.
Wow.
And so we had it was anything you would see on CSI, and they couldn't even make it up. It was so insane, and you can never imagine being caught up in that world of what that was happening, and the central 911 call and the whole thing that was going on. So that was on a Monday. Then the following Monday, I had to turn myself in for the DUI.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I don't think you can get any lower than this, And I just had filed my own personal bankruptcy.
Yeah.
3 months before. It was just like you couldn't, it was all three the major stressors that you could ever have in the world. Happened at one point. So that's when I started to write, and that was my therapy. It's to go, if I can make sense of this, I could function forward, and that's how I kind of started to move forward. So that's why the book took so long, because just going through all the memories of everything was difficult.
Yeah,
incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing that. And I think that's great, though. I mean, it's gonna resonate with 1-2 people. I mean, who knows? It might be hundreds, thousands of people that might resonate with going forward. But I'm always going to say, just turn your messes into your messages.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I would have liked that a long time ago. Maybe you did. I think you did. I think I got to the point here, like I said earlier. I felt like I didn't have anything to lose. We really, the company had always shined through all of it anyways, and then I kind of came out the other side and certainly learned, and I tried to understand all of it. And I felt like it was important, really, for me, just to get it off my chest. And then I think if anybody felt like it was an interesting story, whether it's a business story or a personal story or what have you, then there would be some excitement for it. And if it generated money for the charities, that was even a win-win.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Awesome.
do you think with that nothing to lose mentality, do you think that is only brought upon through hitting rock bottom?
Yeah, it's funny. It's a different kind of nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose when you're a 23-year-old. Like you guys said, you've been doing this for 13 years now, because you have nothing to lose because you seriously don't have any financial. Like I had $2,000, and I had a dog and a truck. That was it. So I had nothing to lose, and all this energy to go forward, which was great. In this thing, there was nothing to lose because I had to hit bottom. So it was a different kind of nothing to lose in getting it out there. I felt like even in letting the book out, I could handle just about anything thrown at me. I think that's out there. And so if it was going to not be a good thing, I could handle that, but probably was going to be. And it just made a lot of those things just made me strong enough to feel comfortable about it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, because I have that almost even that nothing to lose mentality still, because I lost my father at 16, 3 days before Christmas, senior year of high school, and me and him literally went through hell for six years, so it's like my mentality even till this day is like, like I've lost my father, the sole provider, my mentor, and I've been through hell, and nothing could really break me at this point, so I have him, and we just have ourselves going forward, and that's just kind of the mentality with it. So that's why I asked with the nothing to lose mindset of it.
It does, you never want that, right? You don't want that part of your story, right?
Of course.
But it is. And so like you said, you just turn your
message into your messages,
right?
Yeah.
So it had to make you stronger, right? Or it gets you. It's one of the two.
Right.
And I think in both those cases, that's the truth, because it changes you for sure, but you are stronger from it.
Yeah,
absolutely. So in life, we have to make a lot of sacrifices. I'm sure you've made a ton of sacrifices to be where you're at today, but there's always a cost to that sacrifice. So if I use the example of like an NFL player, right? NFL players, they just beat their bodies to shit, but they're making good money, but they have to make that sacrifice, but there is a cost to it. So what sacrifice are you willing to make with what cost?
Boy, there's so many different sacrifices over the years. I think there were certain non-negotiables as I got forward. When I was younger, my personal life really took a backseat because you just needed that energy. I didn't sleep, so it was all just to try to get the business to go forward. And then as I started to get a little bit older, that became a little bit of a priority. Understanding business took a little bit of a sacrifice when I didn't dive in every minute all the time as I started to start a family. Boy, I'm trying to think. Time in the beginning, was certainly one. I think what I realized later was the ability to be able to deal with stress. That's a sacrifice I think every entrepreneur doesn't realize until they're in it. Back to the passion, love it part, is that stress never leaves you. When I painted houses as a teenager, I could paint the wall and go, wow, look at the wall, it's done. I can go to another wall.
Right.
This never is done.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know what's going to happen if I go to my desk now, what stressors are going to be there. That's being an entrepreneur.
Such a great point.
So I think you sacrifice a little bit of that carefree because you're always on.
Yeah, and you're constantly solving problems.
Yeah. I do look at, though, and I would hope my son agree, I don't think there was a negotiable with my time with him.
Okay.
Through all that. I think he would agree with that. That was just not a negotiable thing with me once I got to that point. And I think at some points that affected the direction of the business all the time because it was so closely held by me.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And then you mentioned along the way you had to learn business. Did you have like mentors to show you the way, or was it kind of just like self-guided education?
well, it was funny. I had two really kind of people in the business. One, a gentleman by the name of Don McIntyre, an old World War II bomber pilot that ended up becoming a big manufacturer, throughout and he was in his 80s when he came to me, and he was in the old school. He was in Lombardi. He would, cuss me out and, all this kind of stuff. He could say anything, do anything. But he taught me a lot. We put together like an executive board that had a lot of different metrics on it, whether it was an attorney, a tech guy, marketing guy, certainly Don, and really try to dive into teaching me business, not just how to open up a health club or just fitness, but business.
Right.
And man, those days were done. I would have loved to have had him longer.
Yeah.
He passed about 6 years into it, but he was so influential to me in that and teach me about business and how to maximize what you're doing, not worried about just another box to grow.
Yeah.
And then it was Jim, really, because he came from a different background in real estate, Wall Street, and we were so close. He was the brother I never had, so that we just never stopped, like you two. Like it was always on between us two, and it gave me the ability to bounce everything off of both business and personally. So I think those are the two big ones over the meat and potatoes of my career.
Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. So, we're fascinated with people's day-to-day lifestyle. So let's talk about your lifestyle. Is there any key habits or systems that you have kind of implemented daily that kind of just help you get shit done and move the needle forward? And like, what's your morning routine like, your midday routine like? What's like the shut-off routine like?
It's funny. That's wow. I haven't really thought about it. I haven't. It's funny. I will say that I used to not be like this, even in my early 30s, whatever, but I make the bed every day. Like now like that, the day doesn't start unless the bed's made. And I don't know why, it's just like bugs me. I guess it's my first controllable out of the day. It's like, if you don't, are you just going to be lazy today? That's just my own mental trigger, right?
I love it.
It's so lame, but true for me. And then I've definitely become more of an early morning person. I'm usually up between 5:30 and 6.
Okay.
Working out twice, maybe 3 times a week, but doing something active, whether it's mountain biking, playing golf, and I've been playing a lot more tennis lately. So I just feel like some trigger for me has to get going in the morning to then go forward my day. I'm not as pressured in when I walk into the office because it never really shut off when I left the office.
Right.
So, and it can be anywhere like you guys, right? So that's okay, but I need that. And then the day just goes into what's ever happening or happened from the day before. I function through that. I actually spend a lot of times in my lunch, I go and get some solitude. I like, going to lunch sometimes by myself because I can just think.
Yeah,
I like that.
I'm up and going, I can go through emails, or I can just disengage and go through ESPN or CNN or whatever it is, just to kind of go, okay, now I'm just downloaded and I'm going to go back and get after it for the next 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah, love it. Yeah. Has there ever been a time where you felt successful on paper, but you felt like a failure inside?
Well, I could say the day I started the book, I think there's been a lot of those times. That's a great question, and it's been flip-flopped, but there has been. I think it's one thing to be successful at something when you've been dynamically going after because of energy and enthusiasm and knowing people. I think those were my traits when I was younger, and I had success, but I had no idea what to do with it. I didn't know what it meant. It's not why I started. So I didn't really understand it, and then understanding how to continue it and grow it. So it stagnated a little bit, and I felt like I didn't like as much not understanding all of it rather than just having a success from what I did, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
You know, and that became a little bit more of a theme of mine, is that, okay, if I'm going to do something, I really need to understand it, because I don't have a lot of background from it. And that was a lot of my career, is just learning it, sometimes failing at it, and then going, okay, now that I have all that understanding, what do I do with it? So there's a lot of times where I made good money when I was 25.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it 28 years old. I'm like, wow, I think I found out I was a millionaire when I was 27 years old. You know, my first building and all that stuff. I was like, okay, now what? I don't feel smarter, you know, like, I don't really know what to do with it now.
Yeah.
And then there was times where I think we probably weren't making as much on paper for a lot of different reasons, but I knew I was understanding, and I understood why we weren't.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then I went, okay, and how do I fix that? And I felt more accomplished, probably had less on my balance sheet, you know, per minute worked than I did. But, you know, it's been both. And then I've had times where, you know, it's been the opposite.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, is there anything like that keeps you up at night more than anything else?
Boy, now, you know, that's a good question. You know, I think making sure, I was talking to my executive team the other day. If I look at this company, it's always my goal to say, are we looking at every aspect of the business? Are we maximizing our efficiency in it? So I'm always rotating. So it might be from a marketing efficiency. Are we, as you say, having enough eyeballs? Are we in the right digital space? Are we doing enough print marketing? Or what? Are we maximizing everything we should be? Are we the loudest we can be for the dollars we decide to spend? Pause. Are we over here in the financing world? Am I maximizing all my debt? Are we doing that? Am I diving in? Am I recapping stuff? What am I doing there? Pause. What about our operations? Are we maximizing the way my personal trainees are feeling? Do we have the best system for them? You know, what about childcare? What about front desk? Are we doing that? Pause. How do the clubs look? Are they all, is the club that I have in 2001 feel like the one that I just got done building last year? Pause. So it just never ends. So I would say that cycle is just that you're never off as an entrepreneur, right? You just, it's self-abuse.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree.
Yeah, I can totally relate with that. Totally relate with that. You know, just like, am I doing everything possible in all these different compartments?
Like, am I exhausting all options?
Man, it's such a mind F.
It really is.
It is.
I think the competitive part of me is I don't ever, I like competition. I like just get after it kind of competition, and I don't want to ever feel like somebody's going to outwork me. And if I know that a day goes by that I really didn't give it everything, that's probably where I look at myself. So I might have more money than I ever had, but I didn't give it today. You know, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what brings out that killer instinct side of you? Like, and I like using that analogy of like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. You know, they're playing 4 quarters, but as soon as like that 4th quarter hits, they have this switch where it's killer instinct. Turn it on. You know, like what's your killer instinct switch like when it comes to like competition and all that?
I always felt like it was the ability to focus when things got the loudest. It happened when, you know, in 2012. It happened in different parts of my career and even in my, you know, life. When things were the loudest, for some reason, it just would slow down for me and I could get focused. And then I would get intense, and that would allow me to kind of channel it all into whatever that problem needed to be solved and count on it. And as I got older, I could just kind of count on it. And I think that was part of the kind of what drove me when I played sports. I didn't like to lose. I didn't like to, you know, be second up on something. I wanted to be starter, and I just always just kind of was there.
Yeah.
That's why you have 17 locations and 90,000 members.
Exactly. So
a lot of great help.
I bet.
That's awesome.
So with these empires that you've built, just all the success you've had in your life, is there anything in your personal life that you're missing?
Oh, I think I've been really lucky. I mean, I have, you know, right now I'm in a good relationship, you know, right now. I think it's in a good spot, and it's been this progression in my life through all these different things that I think for the people that have been with me, they've been really, I've been lucky because they've all been really good people that I've been with, and certainly my son's mom and so forth, that we all have really good relationships through it. It's just been the unique, you know, my unique path. So I'd probably say at this point, when I just turned 51, it's probably the most peaceful that I've ever been. Wow. Which is saying a lot, you know. My son's in a great spot. I'm really proud of him, and That's good.
You're gonna have to go visit him in Spain.
Yeah, he's about ready to go to Barcelona for
awesome.
5 months, which will be awesome.
Yeah. Okay,
Awesome.
cool.
Really proud.
Yeah. So what's next for Tom Hatton and Mountainside Fitness?
I think, it was interesting. The book kind of took on more than I wasn't sure what that was going to be. It went on to Amazon's bestseller, so that was kind of cool. And what that's kind of led to a lot of speaking with that. And really just kind of, I think the opportunity to just kind of pace ourselves into what we want to do, whether it's grow more here in Arizona, outside Arizona. We've got some other products that we have, not just a big box Mountainside, but like this one you're in today is the executive Mountainside.
Yeah.
And then look at other opportunities that might be out there that have nothing to do with fitness and everything to do with business.
Sure.
I think those are definitely on the near horizon.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, you're definitely gonna do it. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
So what's one skill that you would advocate for a young entrepreneur to learn right away? And then what's 2 books that you recommend that have just really helped you and impact you as a business owner or just in your life?
Yeah, I would say the first skill that I think is a skill that's harder for today's entrepreneur because there's so much information is the ability to listen. Just to listen, to truly just do not have an answer. Listen to what you're hearing because that information that you're getting directly from somebody is so valuable, not just because of what they're saying, but because of how they're saying it, because of what they went through. And you can learn from that. You can use that in your own career. So I would say that's
Love
1A
that.
in that because I don't know how that's prevalent these days. There's so much information.
Yeah.
Right.
You kind of know it all and you haven't been through it all. and that's a
Exactly.
big deal. And I would say right behind that is the ability to understand all numbers and what they really mean. Because I always feel like they're talking to you and telling you a story of what you have, what you don't have, where you're going. I think that's really important. It kind of helps define what business and how you're going to go, what your business is and what you're going to do with it.
Absolutely.
And stuff. Good to Great is a book. We've all heard about it. It is. And
who's that by?
Oh my gosh! Now you put me on the
Okay.
spot.
It's okay. Just Google it. We'll look it up. We'll look it up.
Sorry about that, right? But Good to Great. I think it really stood out to me because I think there's so many different. There's so much competition in fitness as there is in any business. How do you stand out? There's in our industry, there's a lot of great in it. You talked about Orange Theory. I think they're great. I have no problem saying that they're great. They're a competitor, but they are great. And I feel like we are in our field. We're really good. It's hard for me to say great, but borderline great.
Yeah.
But I think the understanding what the difference between good to great. Back to your question of when do you feel successful? When I don't feel like we're good, I feel like we're great.
Got it.
Then I feel like I don't care about the money part.
Yeah.
It's that part. That's why I got into business. That's a big one, and outliers.
Okay.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah, because I think he did a great job of studying what makes the why and who and what they're doing. I talked to my son when he was 10, and I explained to him that book, and he's a golfer, and I explained to him all the different stories of all the guys or people and what they did. And 10,000 hours is a big thing to count. 10,000 hours, you're an expert.
Yeah.
You can do it, and what have you. And he went on his track to 10,000 hours to get to a certain point. And I think it's really true, not only about sports, but just in general, of how you become really an expert of understanding. Doesn't mean you're great at it, but you certainly understand it, and you've done enough repetition of it to go, okay, you're there.
Exactly. Yeah, and I love your point, what you said about like the skill set of listening.
Yeah.
And it's so true. And that's one of the reasons why I like doing, podcast interviews, because I can sit here and listen to amazing guests like yourself and just get that wisdom. One little nugget, if that's all it is. I mean, it's amazing. But that ability to listen and then even like apply that, I mean, it's game changer.
It is.
That is a game changer, and I think I have so many different colleagues that are in different fields in this world that I've learned their stories. Their backstories, are amazing. And there's that common theme where they had to grow through adversity, and then they had to just not ever give up. Mm-hmm. So I would say that's another thing is, do not give up on it, because you're giving up on yourself, and you hear that in a lot of different, talks, but it's so true that when you think you're at the bottom, there's another one.
Yeah.
And you just cannot give up, because then there's another, top, another higher level.
Right.
It just really does that way.
Yeah.
I
agree.
would have said I would have thought something was the bottom. Oh, no, there it is.
I agree.
But then the ability to not give up and say, this is not going to break me. and there'll probably be a different bottom or what have you, but I know it won't break me because I've trained myself to never give up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Important is listening.
Yeah.
All right, Tom. So before we ask the last question of the podcast, I just want to commend you and say, number one, thank you for inviting us here to Mountainside Fitness
Yeah,
headquarters.
thank you.
Beautiful place.
Thank you.
Everything that you're doing, just, 17 locations, 90,000 plus members. It's incredible. For you being open, like during your first talk at GSDCon, amazing. Touched us. I'm sure you're going to bring the heat, on Friday, right? So we're going to be there listening, taking notes, and just being a continuous student and being open, like with your story and writing a book and getting that out there to, change people's lives. I really commend you on that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
So,
you.
what does it mean to Tom Hatton to live a dynamic lifestyle?
Boy, what is that? I've never been asked that question. I think is to never stop growing. I feel like even last week there was something I learned about myself that I didn't really have an understanding of. I was like, wow, I'm half a century old, and I learned something new.
Yeah.
And that gets me fired up. Said, okay, what am I going to do with that new knowledge of myself or the world, whatever? And that gets me, you say, dynamic, versatile. It allows me to be energetic and still be enthusiastic and passionate, all those words about what I'm doing or what I want to do. So as long as I wake up and I feel like today I'm going to be, to use your term, dynamic, because I'm going to control what I want to do and who I am, and then that helps allow people to be around me that I think are happy and me to be happy. I think that's the key to me.
Yes.
Love it. Love
Powerful.
it.
Powerful.
Great question. Wow, I'm sweating.
So Tom, is there where can our listeners support you, and is there anything like in particular we can support you on right now?
Well, I appreciate that. I think the biggest thing is, Dream On is the book.
Okay.
It's on Amazon and Amazon Kindle. I think it's gonna break the bank at $10, $9.99
Yeah.
on Kindle, right? $15 if you buy the paperback, but I will sign it. I think that's a big support because it's a support of really an entrepreneur story, which we are all part of together, and a lot of the people that will be at GSDCon. It's the support of that, and then what can come out of all the different things that maybe we can learn from, and then what can it benefit, maybe in this case, the charity. So I would say that's the biggest thing, for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have that linked up in the show notes. So,
I appreciate it.
Tom, once again, thank you so much for your time. This has been amazing. You guys,
Thank you.
go check out
Thanks so much,
Tom,
Tom.
what he's
Appreciate it.
doing.
Thank you very
If you
much.
guys are in
Best of luck.
Arizona, head over to Mountainside Fitness and come check out the location.
All right.
Till next time.
All right. You will.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you guys want more access to podcast interviews and videos just like this, make sure to click the link below so you guys can check out all the other episodes that we have. Also, if you're a personal trainer, a gym owner, or a fitness professional, and you're looking to take your business online, make sure to check out the link below and join our Online Fitness Coaches Personal Mentorship Program. In this program, we actually have 2 live trainings. The first live training is with Eric and I, and we actually teach you guys about sales, marketing, persuasion, social media, how to be a better online fitness coach. And the second live training is with an expert that teaches you stuff just like that, what I just mentioned, okay? So if you guys are interested in that and also creating more income, influence, and impact and taking your business online, make sure to check out our Online Fitness Coaches Personal Mentorship Program. We'll see you on the inside.